So NBA training camps open up in full force coming up next week, and we finally, that sounds so messed up. Finally, we have an injury. That's not what I meant. I could do another take, but we're just going to pretend that didn't happen, okay? Everyone here, I didn't say finally.
No.
And unfortunately,
God, no. There we go.
I hate
the right word.
I need to take a stance right now. I hate injuries. They suck.
Yes.
Let's establish that. Unfortunately, we find out that Draymond Green sprained his left ankle. Mark Spears over at Anscape and ESPN says he's likely to miss 4 to 6 weeks. And look, I'm not trying to make the biggest deal out of a ankle sprain.
Yeah.
And it's early enough.
Right.
But he's going to likely miss some time to start the season. I mean, 4 weeks would put him that first week of the season. If it goes to the 6th week, we're talking about the first week of November.
You and I were talking about all the different angles of this situation. Without being too dramatic about it, we were just like, oh, but there are interesting angles to this situation because I first said to you, I thought it was the number one thing to kind of talk about is, well, now you're not asking questions about that starting group. And Deuce pushed back.
At least for now.
Well, I mean, who are you saying the starting group is? You're still saying that you're confirming that Chris Paul is in that starting group. I'm going to assume Steve Kerr is going to go in that direction now. I think before the question was more okay, are they going to push Looney out because Looney's just a team guy and will do anything for them? And now it sounds like, in my opinion, it's going to be CP3, Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Looney to start the season or maybe even just the preseason, depending on what his timeline actually ends up being.
I don't know. But here's why it's a little bit of a issue here is you're trying to establish some chemistry with a new group. If this injury happened last year, right, for Draymond, all those guys kind of know each other. But working Chris Paul into this mix is going to take some time. That's just the reality. And it's going to be, whether he's in the starting lineup or coming off the bench, it's going to be an adjustment for him. And Steve Kerr's whole thing in training camp, going into camp, is hey, we've got 6 starters. We'll evaluate and figure it out. Well, that evaluation kind of is off the table now because Draymond can't participate. So that's why I think it's a bigger deal. And I also just think, from this standpoint, I think the Warriors feel like they have to get off to a good start this year. And
that's what Steve Kerr feels like, especially after starting the shitty start they had last year.
They had a bad start to the season last year, and they were awful on the road, right? They won 11 road games last year. Their defense was terrible on the road. Well, this season, 7 of their first 9 games are on the road. So it's tough. And let's be honest, even though their defense struggled on the road last year, we understand that they're a much better defensive team with Draymond in the fold.
Yes.
Him not being there is a bit of a hit. So, again, this is kind of my big issue when I look at this Warriors team. It's an ankle sprain. These are just bad luck things. It happened at a pickup game at Chase Center. Guys are in town. They're starting to play because they're in town early before camp. But, it's just these older guys get banged up, and it's an old team, and this team needs time to build some chemistry, and it's an early blow for this
How
group.
many times have we talked about the Clippers and every single season? It's this is a team, even though they have some great players from around the league on that one team, they still need to establish some sort of chemistry going into the season or going deeper into the season. And I know with this could end up being the 4 to 6 week mark, and it's okay, well, he's starting the season with them. These are still crucial, practices and training camp to kind of establish that together in the beginning. And I said this to you, I was kind of talking about how Draymond is also one of those guys that brings up the ball and has the ball in his hands. Is this going to be interesting now, having Chris Paul start off the preseason and the season possibly with the ball in his hands to bring it up more as a traditional point guard now? And then if he establishes that...
Well, it changes how they play, right? Because Draymond is so good. We talked about him and just his ability to just grab the ball and push the floor. And he creates havoc out there, especially with the shooting of Steph and Clay out there. That's out the window. I mean, I don't think Chris Paul is pushing the ball up the floor off a rebound like Draymond Green. No. But I'd also say, hey, from Golden State's standpoint, at least they have another ball handler, another guy they feel comfortable with that can. It's just going to be different. It really is. And that's why it's going to be a bit of a challenge for this group as they're trying to build chemistry. Now they're going to have to wait until Draymond comes back to build that. And they're going to be in the midst of playing a lot of road games. I think from an NBA fan perspective, the one thing that's kind of unfortunate, and I hope he's back earlier, is I don't want him to miss any Kings Warriors games this year. And the Kings Warriors play twice during that stretch. Like there's a chance he misses the October 27th game and that November 1st game. No, those Warriors Kings series, the games during the playoffs were epic last year. And obviously he played a big role in that with all the drama, stomping on, and just the theatrics that come. I want him in those games.
I'm with you. And if that October 27th is the Kings home opener that night.
Yeah.
So, okay, but how epic would it be if like he missed the first preseason one, whatever, and then he misses his home or his opening season game, whatever, but then he comes back for that second game of his season on the 27th and it's against the Kings. He's going to be like, think about it. He hadn't been on the court. He's going to be amped even more. I'm down for
Kings
that type of drama. I like that.
And those Kings fans are going to be super amped up too to go at him. Yeah, Draymond, hopefully he gets back fast for the Warriors because they just got to get off to a better start. What do you think the Warriors should do with the starting lineup? Do you just put Chris Paul in there like Morgan said, put CP3, Clay, Steph, Wiggins, Looney? Or do you go, no, you know what? We're probably going to play Chris Paul off the bench. Let's keep him on the bench and let's put Kuminga in the starting lineup with Looney. I don't know. There are some options they have there. What do you think about it? Is this that big of a deal? Let us know in the comments and make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe.